Welcome to the P's and Q's podcast. I'm your host, Quinée Foray, and I'm living my best life. And I want to help you live your best life too. Today, you guys, oh my goodness, I am so excited. We have a special guest, and I cannot wait for you to hear what he has to say. His name is Stevon Lewis. He's a licensed psychotherapist, speaker, author, host of the podcast, How to Talk to High Achievers About Anything. And he's the guy to do this. He goes into different corporations and helps people face their imposter syndrome and battle their mental health challenges. He's been featured on so many networks, the Oprah Winfrey Network, Kevin on Stage Studios, Entrepreneur, and more than I can even name in this podcast. Stevon's worked with companies like Tory Burch, the Creative Collective New York City, and the Shared Harvest Foundation. And he recently released a journal called the Acknowledgement Journal, which is a powerful journal aimed at quieting your inner bully and living your fullest expression, which is what we do around these parts. So welcome, Stevon.
Hey, thank you. Happy to be here.
I am honored to have you here because and I have all my edges at the moment.
We're going to keep them intact. We're going to keep those edges well put together.
For now.
Yeah. For
now, because some of your viewers call you the
edge snatcher.
Edge snatcher. Yeah, why would they say that about you?
I mean, the internet, they make up all sorts of stuff. None of it is true.
None of it is true. I mean, you're definitely not, showing up and speaking to people in their places where they find discomfort.
Well, what happens is I say things in a way that questions people's logic. Oh. And when they hear themselves and how ridiculous they sound, they blame me.
Oh. Yeah. And then that's where the edge snatch comes off.
Funny how that works, right?
It's really interesting. I do definitely scroll past your Instagram often and feel very seen, very heard, and sometimes a little silly, I will say.
Yeah.
In a good way.
I received that to mean you feel encouraged.
I feel very encouraged. That's what I meant to say. That's what I was saying with all of that.
Yeah, inspired to change.
Inspired to grow.
Yes.
Yeah, inspired to continue to be the best version of myself.
Exactly.
And that motherfucker who be talking all that shit.
That inner bully.
That inner bully. I'm inspired to not listen.
Don't, because it's a liar. So don't listen to liars.
It is a liar.
Yeah.
We don't like liars. Liars are bad.
They are.
So can you help my audience understand your journey and how you came to the place that you are when it comes to being the expert that you are?
I've always been interested in people's stories.
Yeah.
From a young age, and I knew that I was going to be a therapist at some point. Kind of always been the person to hear people's issues and what's going on with them and trying to find ways to comfort them.
Yeah.
And so when I became a therapist, I kind of stumbled into imposter syndrome when I realized kind of the clients that I really gravitated towards and had a really strong connection with.
Yeah.
They all kind of presented with the same history. And so I did some research and found out what it was, and I was like, oh, these are my people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And it's so interesting because people probably look at you and you're so successful and you're talking about imposter syndrome. Have you ever found yourself experiencing it?
Yeah, so I get that question often, since you specialized in this, then you must have had to overcome it yourself. There used to be a program called Choices. I don't know if it's still around, the Choices program, but it was a program where if you lived in a certain part of the city, you could go to a school that wasn't in your area.
We get bussed out.
100%. Yeah. And so I got bussed out to a school in the Hollywood Hills when I was in elementary school, 3rd grade.
Wow.
And I was a handful of black people, black kids at the school, majority white and Asian, and kids whose parents were writers and directors and stuff like that. Those weren't my parents. But what I've realized at a young age was that the rules were going to be different for me. So that, if I did something and if Scott did the same thing, Scott just got told, don't do that. Stevon got a call home.
All right.
And so from that, I was like, hey, you know what? I can either try to be what everybody wants or I can just be me. And so the one thing that people can't take away from me is my intelligence, and I knew that.
That's right.
I can get an A, and I'll just get you unsatisfactory and everything else. Because, I did my homework, I got whatever, but, So,
balance?
Yeah, so I've kind of leaned into myself. And so it's interesting whenever I watch other people that kind of have a difficult time doing that when they're getting good results. It's why can't you just accept that you're getting good results and believe it? to be true. And so, part of the work is to really get them to be able to attach to their success.
And now you help so many other people who may have not had that revelation in the third grade.
Yep.
Because there are so many, and myself included, I'm successful. I travel. I live a wonderful life.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're here now. You're always somewhere different.
I'm always somewhere. But I have an inner bully. She's mean sometimes. She says things that I know are not true. But sometimes she can halt my progress because she scares me.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what if she's right? And what if what she thinks, everyone thinks? It's
so convincing, right? And that's not to say I don't have, I have my own inner bully. It's just, I work really hard to make sure that I don't listen to it.
Yeah.
But it's so convincing because it uses our insecurities and our fears to add to whatever we might already be concerned about to suggest that it makes it more real. And so when it presents it and, if I don't think I'm a good therapist and it's saying did you do a really good job with that client? And I'm like, oh, I probably do suck, right? Because it's already preyed on my insecurity or the worry I had. And I think that's what it does. And so we don't really question it. We kind of just accept it because we have the feeling that, well, if I feel like this, it must be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a lie. So for someone like me, I'm fortunate enough to have witnessed you and learned so much from you. I'm always on your page and you help me every day.
Thank
so,
you.
I appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
For anybody out there listening, watching, what would you recommend for them just really discovering hey, I am acknowledging that I have an inner bully and I have some moments of imposter syndrome that I recognize. What kind of first step would you tell that person in order to challenge that bully? Like you said you work regularly in that conversation. How do you start?
So the fact that they've already kind of made the awareness that, hey, I've got this inner bully, and they have accepted that fact and that they don't, want to believe that they are absolutely a fraud, that's a huge step. So I'm happy they've done that. The first thing I try to teach people to do is to really start to look for evidence, right? So the inner bully is really good at presenting things and presenting information and making suggestions about, what we're doing and how it might not be appropriate or be correct. But it doesn't do a really good job of providing evidence to support. If you're really terrible and not good at what you do, there ought to be some evidence to support that. Oftentimes what you'll find is that people have a feeling, but there isn't any tangible evidence to support. So I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Also, I'm getting promotions. I'm getting praise for what I did do. People are coming to me asking me to do more of what I've already done. That doesn't really feel like evidence to support that you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels like evidence to support that you're awesome.
But your inner bully's not going to tell you that.
No.
Yeah. And so it's your job to look for evidence to make sure that what you're being told and how you feel are lining up and being supported by actual evidence or actual, outcomes.
I like that.
Yeah.
There was something you posted and you were doing an audio and you basically said people don't ask people to do things that they don't believe that they can do. You wouldn't ask someone to get you a cup of water if you thought they were going to spill the water on the way. And I said, that just hit me so deeply. Yeah. Because it's true.
It is. It's the simplest things. I think people with imposter syndrome are really good at dismissing, the evidence that supports that they do know what they're doing or that they are good or that they're not a fraud. And, my job is to say, well, then why would someone do this? If we're all rational, logical people.
Yeah, most of us.
Right. We would hope, right? Why would somebody ask you to do a thing if they thought it was going to turn out terribly? Most people don't do that. Why would you invite me on this show if you thought that I wasn't going to know what I was talking about and it was going to make your podcast look terrible? Doesn't make sense.
Wouldn't do it.
So then why would I hold a view that I don't know what I'm doing or what I'm talking about then? It's not appropriate for me to have that level of fear or concern.
Not even appropriate.
Nah.
And sometimes I know it stems from traumatic experiences we may have had as children or how we grew up, our parents, our teachers, our friends, or all of those kinds of things. How do we dismantle the program that we have been conditioned with?
You are dialed in. You brought up parents. Jeez.
Yeah.
So part of what my work entails is getting people to kind of recognize where this message was kind of created for them, that they don't know what they're doing or that they're not good enough. And when you start to kind of, peel back the layers of that onion, you'll find that somewhere in their history, they were made to feel as though they didn't know what they were doing. And instead of, again, challenging that belief, they just accepted it to be true. And it usually comes not in this harsh, traumatic way, it's usually really subtle. So like, they had parents who were really critical because they wanted, the parents were well-intended, wanted them to do well. And so what felt like nitpicking at small things, sit up straight, don't hold your fork like that, enunciate when you speak, look people in the eye. Again, wanting them to be better. Also, the message there that I'm receiving is that I'm always constantly doing something wrong. If I get a B in a class, well, why didn't you get an A? Again, it doesn't. The praise isn't there, but the critique is there. And so those sorts of things start to chip away at your kind of sense of self and the self-worth you have. And so what you'll start to do is question like, well, if I'm always being told that what I'm doing isn't good enough, or there's always some feedback that's negative, we call it constructive, then probably I don't know what I'm doing. So when I get in positions where other people are seeking me out and saying, hey, I want you to be here and do this thing, you're like, but it's probably not going to be that great because I really don't know what I'm doing. And that's been my entire life. It's
those small little things, well-intentioned things that can seep into our psyche.
Yep.
And so that's when, as we are adults now, we should start going and looking for evidence to support that we actually are doing well.
Yeah, I mean, we update our phones whenever they send us the thing to say the message, hey, you better update, we got a new operating system. I'm saying, why are we not updating our perception of ourselves or the narrative we've adopted about who we are?
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely fantastic. So tell me a little bit about your podcast.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So I have a podcast. It's produced by LWC Studios.
Okay.
A woman who I think is amazing and phenomenal, Jaleka Lantigua Williams, is the founder and, CEO of the organization. And it's a podcast where I talk to high achievers. Much of my practice is really based on people who are doing amazing things in life and still struggle with kind of connecting to that success. So my podcast is designed to kind of help that set of people really attach to the amazing things that they're doing in the world. It's done in a way of where a person will submit kind of their story, and they'll talk about the thing that they're struggling with and what they're doing and putting out into the world. And then I will come in and kind of give my analysis or kind of use my clinical expertise to break down the thought process and the thinking pattern that they're having, and also provide insight and support and kind of interventions for people that might hear themselves in that other person's story and say like, hey, you know what? You don't have to live like this, and this is why.
And just so you guys know, again, it's called How to Talk to High Achievers About Anything, which is amazing. So make sure you go check that podcast out. And we want to hear your feedback as well. Jump in his comments, jump in my comments.
Hey, appreciate that.
Okay. Have you faced any resistance in your life when it comes to achieving your goals, your mission, your desires? And if so, how do you overcome it?
There is a learning curve. There's a hill you have to climb to get over stuff.
Oh, my goodness.
Because you want to do something and you have a desire to do it doesn't mean it'll be easy. So, yeah, for sure. I think that, the way my journey looks when that happens is that I tell people I'm a turtle. I'm a slow starter. Okay. But once I get going and get in my trot, I will run fast. So it takes me time to build up momentum. But once I get momentum, I'll go. So, the slow start or hesitation is dealing with that part, right? That I'm going to be doing something I've never done before. That's a little scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my inner bully says, well, you're doing fine here. Oh. Do you need to do this other thing?
Oh.
Well, I don't know that I need to. Let me get some information about it. But I'm able to push past it and say, well, let's try it. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. And so I go cautiously at first. And then once I start to have, little bits of success, I'm big on celebrating myself. And I'm like, oh, you did that. Oh, you did that. Okay, let's go.
I like that. So you celebrate the incremental wins.
100%.
Because even just starting is a win. Starting wherever you are.
Yep.
Like, let's go get oysters and celebrate champagne.
Yeah. Ow.
I really like that.
People tend to wait until the event is done or the goal is fully accomplished.
Yeah.
And for me, that's problematic, right? Like, I think that we send messages to our brain based on kind of how we operate, based on the language we use. So how we talk about ourselves, how we talk about what we've done. And my thing is, if you don't say you've done anything good or of importance or significance until after you've accomplished this final goal, then what you've done is you've dismissed all the things that it took to get to the goal. So you're saying none of that stuff is important The only thing that's important is actually making it to the top of the hill.
Ooh.
And I'm like, well, interesting. How did you really get to the top if you didn't do all this other stuff? So it did matter. Yeah.
Celebrate. Celebrate every step of the journey.
Yeah.
Because it's the journey that we love.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
You know, you get to the top of the hill and you look back and you're like, wow, look at the valley. Look at that beautiful view.
Right. Right.
You know, I had to climb up each one of those steps. So
we get to the top, we look at the view, and it's like, okay, let's go to the next hill we have to climb.
Right. We're not even celebrating and enjoying where we are now.
Yeah. Enjoy the reward you worked hard to get.
Speaking of celebrating, I have been celebrating the Acknowledgement Journal.
There it is right there.
I've ordered so many of these.
You did. I appreciate that support. Thank you.
Listen, you're welcome and thank you, because I've been giving this out as gifts.
Oh, that's cool.
And just yesterday, someone told me this journal is life. Life-giving, life-affirming. I was like, what? We all need to face all the parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
We can hide from ourselves, but when we really look at ourselves in the mirror and learn to love all the different parts of ourselves, love that inner bully.
Yes.
Learn how to have those conversations with your inner bully. Learn to identify who is speaking in the room. And you've done such a good job with this Acknowledgement Journal.
Thank you.
I love it. You guys got to grab yourself some.
Like, I created it based off of kind of the work that I do in the room with people.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm only one person, so everybody can't sit with me for an hour and talk through this stuff on a weekly, bi-weekly basis.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, let me put some of this exercises and things that I use in my own practice to try to help people kind of work through that stuff.
You guys click the link in the bio to get yourself one. And I'm actually going to give one away to one of y'all, because I do love y'all. And so I need you to comment, have you named your inner bully?
That's important.
What your inner bully's name is and why. I'm going to pick the best name. Start now. Start where you are. And wherever you guys are on your journey, as you begin to start, I want you to celebrate your wins. For those of you listening who may not have identified your inner bully or even knew that that's something that you were facing, once you get that recollection, acknowledge it and acknowledge yourself. That is growth. And with growth is great power. And I'm really proud of myself. I'm really proud of you. Thank you for being here with us on the P's and Q's podcast. Stevon, tell the people where they can find you.
Thank you for having me. I really do enjoy this and being able to talk about this and get my message out. So, for you to give me access to your platform and your followers and your support network is, appreciate it. Thank you.
An honor.
Yeah. So I can be found, I have a unique name. It's kind of like yourself.
Yeah.
So it's easy to find me, Stevon Lewis. You can Google that. Website has my connection to everything, StevonLewis.com.
Sweet.
And I am most active on social media on Instagram, and that's at Stevon Lewis MFT, the letters Mary Francis Thomas. I will be very encouraging on there to help you grow. And sometimes in order to grow, we have to get uncomfortable.
Ooh, yes, all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, give me five.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. Thank you guys so much for being here with us today. If you enjoyed this, please click that subscribe button and find us here every Monday and every other Wednesday for our lovely meditations. I love you so much.